Is this A24 downfall? I watched the Backrooms a few weeks ago already, and when I was preparing to make this video, A24 started doing things that made people angry. So in this video, we are going to talk about the Backrooms itself, and then the following of the Backrooms, which is not that good. First of all, because I constructed this entire video around the backrooms, I have to say that it's gonna be a bit long. So if you're interested only about the A24 part, you can skip directly with the chapters. I have multiple things to say about the backrooms. Should I say the backrooms or am I going to get copyrighted? The first thing I was when I left the theater was confused. I was so confused that it took me a few days to register exactly what happened in the movie, which isn't bad inherently. It's not. I obviously went with my mother that knows nothing about the original Backrooms, so she could give me an opinion about the Backrooms that is not biased by the series. Especially because I have no idea if Kane wants to separate the movie with the rest. Because I didn't watch any interview, I didn't want to be myself biased while making this video. I'm going to assume that it is in fact a bit related because of the last found footage. What is the plotline? What exactly is the plotline in here? Are we exactly following Mary? Are we following Clark? Is it the both of them? I guess it's the both of them. Okay, I'm not that stupid. But while watching, I was a bit struggling to really pinpoint who I was watching at first. Simply because we start with Mary, which behind her there is I don't know, a sign, not a sign, but a construction information, and there is a reversion on it, which is a callback to his other series on YouTube. Who am I following? We followed Clark for a very long time after that, and then we switch back to Mary when she gets kidnapped. Well, not when she gets kidnapped exactly, but when she enters the back room at least, that's when we start to get her POV constantly, which is the end. That's almost the end. So exactly whose story that is? Well, it's both of them, of course. What is the message? What are you trying to tell me exactly? What kind of message are you trying to give me behind the backrooms? It's not something I understood quite directly. Movie, I needed time to reflect. Again, all of those questions, I'm going to answer them in the theory section because, of course, this is my interpretation. I have no idea if I'm right or wrong, but that's what we're going to talk about after. What is the backrooms? What is the backrooms? What is this? I was a bit confused when watching the movie, which my mother was too, not knowing anything. She was extremely confused about the signification of the backroom. What it is this an entity, which I talked about in my previous video watching the series, the fan footage. I talked about it. I talked about this. Is this an entity? What exactly is the backroom? Is this a place? Is this time? Is this a mix of both? A mix of the three? An entity, a place, and time? What is exactly supposed to be the backrooms? Which is, again, not something that is negative to not know. Which is, I was wondering, what the heck was happening in there? There's someone with a double face, with multiple, I don't know. No, it was not multiple arms, but her face was all weird. And I was like, how it is that none of the scientists are in the backrooms in their entirety humanoid ways. Why are they non-existent? And that's again something I was a bit angry about. That's something you forgot. Again, that's something you forgot. Or at least in the sense of I watched the series on YouTube. Because if you didn't watch the series on YouTube, you don't know that they actually researched and went in the backrooms. Unless you watch YouTube, you don't know that. Which is, again, totally depend on if the series are canon to the movie or not. What kind of R are you trying to show me? Because this is at least an horror movie or a thriller. It's something, and I don't know exactly what kind of horror you're trying to portray. Is this gore? Is this, the pressure of silence? I don't know exactly, because I was not scared. But I was scared watching YouTube. I was scared. Why am I not scared here? I don't understand. Okay, I wanted to be scared, and when warning my mom about what we were going into, I told her we might be scared. We weren't. I had my slushie in my hand, which was frozen cold, so I could not drink it, but at the same time my paper straw was literally melting away, and I waited the entire course of the movie to drink that thing, and not once did I throw my slushie away from being scared, which is something I wanted. I wanted to cover myself, to be a coward kind of self. The problem comes with filmmaking. The movie in itself is a mix of what King does best, which is 3D. I'm pretty sure there's 3D in there. And movies. Or not original movies. Movies. Hollywood movies. American movies. It screams America from a mile away. And it's okay. It's okay. But you can clearly recognize the American footprint behind the Backrooms and how it was handled in the movie, which is exactly what stopped us from getting scared. You want action, you want things moving all the time, and you don't let the viewers be scared. The problem is, it's not a Conjuring, it's not a film that has jump scares, it's a movie that plays on longevity, it plays on silence, and when you're constantly changing plans and you're not letting us exactly wait until the moment comes, I don't know. But I gotta say, I liked the camera view changing from the camoscope and from the normal, camera. Why does this look like he's talking to his parent because he peed in his bed? Well, I mean, what we see from the movie. I really liked this. I really, really did. That's something I liked because that's not something we see often. It exists in movies, but not exactly that often. And awfully, the example that comes to my mind is something I complimented in Fear Street Prom Queen back then, so that's not exactly a good thing, is it? Maybe I have shit taste. I felt that the color grading of the Backrooms is good. It's very great, but I have not analyzed it. And I saw people talk about it, but I refused to actually read what it was saying because I don't want to claim things that is not my own. I like how they use the wild angles. I don't know exactly if that's called the wide angles though, but they were very close to the face and it was making a movement behind, more like a concave feeling more than flat, and it not being flat really pushed the idea of the backroom being weird and not just a place. It's something that really brought out the idea of the weirdness of the backrooms, the idea of the feeling and everything that comes with it. The camera and height was used amazing. What exactly is the plot line? The plot line, the message, who's the main character is all inserted quite easily in my theory. Maybe I'm going to get it wrong, but I think it's kind of a simple theory that is not that hard to grasp. But the backroom is a mind. It's the brain. It's memories. It's an entity, maybe that's what I go with. It's an entity that register everything and copy everything that is entered in. Exactly like your brain. It will register everything. So to me, the backroom is a brain. There's a memory from back then and you kind of remember it, but it's not as precise. That's the backrooms. To me, that's the backrooms. But let's go a bit more precisely into this. In the back room, when Clark enters, the first thing that chases him or that shows its presence is, well, Captain Clark. To me, it's obvious. It's the reveal that we have at the end that the entity that has been following him is himself. There's this discourse online about whether or not Clark is a good person or a bad person, and I want to say, no amount of propaganda is going to make me believe that he's good. First of all, being bad and good is hard to tell. Nothing is black and white. That's not how you determine that someone is good or bad. Oh, but he was good with his co-workers, well, his employees. Okay, and there's multiple things that tells you that Clark is not a good person, and his ending is one to begin with. Clark goes to therapy, and we don't exactly know how long it's been, but it's clearly not working. There's nothing that really changes, and his behavior stays kind of the same, and during his roleplay with Mary, he's kind of violent. First of all, when someone is not actually willing to change, which is not by the end, because he never actually wanted to change his behavior, his anger, etc., well, therapy doesn't work. And the thing with his ex-wife, is that he's unreliable narrator. It's his problem with his job, his problem with the architecture job, his problem with the shop, his problem with the wife that is not understanding, his problem, he's the victim. We do not have her side. We have no idea what happened. We don't even see it. And do you know why? Because he's not right. I'm not saying the wife is right. I'm saying he is not right either. We see that Clark has a big alcohol problem, anger management issues, and many other things that ends up hurting others. And mental illnesses does not justify bad behaviors. It explains them, but not justify them. You don't know if the ex-wife was working her ass off in college or anything like that because he doesn't tell it. He doesn't say that because it's all about him. And also all about the fact that he does not want to change. And his unwillingness to change is making his entire life worse. The shop, the architecture, the backrooms, his employees that he end up taking in the backrooms is what makes people hurt. And is in proxy what Captain Clark is, which I'm going to go deeper into it just right after. And the fact that he was violent with her, that they did this test of, at the beginning when they are in therapy, when he pretended that it was her, his ex. That was the first really red flag that I should have gotten, and I clearly got it, but I did not get the foreshadowing, to be honest. I did not get this one, but I think it was really good to see how he was still stuck on this when he was in the back room, because he was stuck in his own memory. He was stuck in himself, unable to get out of it, until Mary entered the back room with her own memories and tried to get him out of him. Mary is the representation of being able to get out of your trouble, and he is the representation of getting stuck in his trouble. So when Mary came into the back room, which is, to me, in my theory, a piece of your mind, or at least like a brain, well, she managed to give him a part of her situation of get out of here, get out. And you're going to say, no, because he says himself he doesn't have to change, which, it's true, you're right, he says himself he doesn't have to change to Captain Clark, because also he kind of fears Captain Clark in a way, because it's himself, it's his own representation of violence, which supports the idea that it's a brain. He entered the place in his brain where the representation of his own character of being violent started to exist. So therefore, the violence went back at him, because in his own brain, in the back room, he was an entirety to hurt too, for Captain Clark, which is the representation of the violence. So does that mean that if a person is not a violent person, does that mean that its entity is not going to react like Captain Clark, not as violently? Which is truly what I think. For example, we have her memory by the end where she's sat because of where she was in the back room. Her entity does not look violent. She is sat, she is seated. exactly like she always will, seated in her own therapy chair. I think her not being shown with any kind of violence or act and just as passive on her own chair is quite. Maybe not. That's my theory, okay? Again, this is just my assumptions. It's more a representation of her being a therapist, someone who waits, someone who's calm, and someone who sits down and listens. In contrary to Captain Clark, who is tall, menacing, and who is a representation of his own failure and violence, which is who he is in real life, just hidden somewhere. So, does that make sense? Mary being the one that is able to get out, which shows Captain Clark in himself that even though he doesn't want to change, his acceptance about who he is changes something within him, which makes Captain Clark angry and end up killing Clark, which is my theory about that. It's my theory. Also, one thing that makes me feel like it is really linked to memories and souvenirs is the reversion mention. Why did I talk? The reversion mention really is what made me believe in this strongly, because obviously it was a little, wink to his own Siri and to the people who likes his work and went here to watch it, so they were like, oh my god, it's reversion, exactly like me. But it's also a way, to me, maybe not, it's just an Easter egg maybe, but the entire idea of the reversion to me is the souvenir. Remembering who reversion was changed the fate of the person that was stuck in the mall. Go watch this series if you haven't, but it's extremely important to me because it supports my theory, so I need it. I need it to support my theory, okay? I mean, So that's my theory. The backroom is a brain. It's as much as a physical place because we can enter it, we can study it. It's a relativity of time, which is not, by the theory on YouTube, not supposed to be the same time in the backroom and outside. But it's also memories. It's something that is not touchable, being bought and made touchable. It's something that is something is usually untangible, becoming tangible and touchable and physical. It transport what is imaginary in our nerves, in our brains, in our everything, to physical. It's obvious to me by now, but I obviously have to close this theory off by saying The Backrooms, at least the movie, is an entire metaphor of mental illness. Mary, who is stuck in her own place, which follows her along her life, and she keeps that rock significant of her getting out with her. And then she goes into the back rooms, and her memory of getting stuck, which she was not over yet, was sticking with her. And she finally let go of it when she's hitting Captain Clark with the rock. She's able to get out, but in reality, she'll never really get away from those feelings simply because now it's stuck in the back rooms. So to me, the brain. It's a new kind of trauma related to being stuck, kidnapped, and not being able to get out. But she was strong enough to be willing to get out. In comparison, Clark is the representation of what happens to someone who has anger issues, alcohol issues, and all that is not exactly willing to change, where everything in life is against him and nothing is really his fault, or that he's not willing to change or to make an actual big change. And he dies because of it, because he wants to stay stuck. And Captain Clark does not like that, because Captain Clark does not want to stay stuck. It's also a representation of his want to be an architect. So it's a big talk about mental illnesses, and I had to point it out because obviously my whole theory depends on mental illness. It goes without saying that there's an entire obvious part of my theory that revolves around what they literally said in the movie of the Backrooms remembering a lot. And sometimes it remembers so much that it can't remember. I don't exactly remember the sentence that it was said, but it was an important one, where it remembers a lot and it end up remembering nothing. I think it's also kind of a way to signify mental health and mental illnesses. I don't know if you guys know, but sometimes when your brain is trying to go into safe mode or trying to, heal itself, it forgets. So it's changing memories, erasing them, modifying them to make you safe. So it could be a relation to that. I still don't know exactly what the backroom is. This is just my interpretation. It being a 3, a brain, an entity, and a physical place. It's just my theory. That's how I see it. And I would like to hear what you think about it. What kind of thing you think the backroom is. I don't think none of us are exactly wrong. I have the idea that art is accessible to everyone, and anyone who interprets things like those that doesn't have any real answers are correct. I'm really wondering if there's going to be a second movie really diving out more into what the backroom is, because as much as I love my interpretation of the backroom, which I think is probably very common, I also wonder if there's an objective truth that one day will get out, because I know that Kane said one person was right. A24 has been more popular lately, especially with series and movies like Euphoria, Has Been Auto, Marty Supreme, but also Bodies, Bodies. I have something to say about that one. That's genuinely one of the worst movie I've seen in my life, but people love it. And Midsommar, so it's a lot. I think it's popular things, and of course there's an entire list of movies and series that they've done along the years, so it's not, it's not new, but yeah, they've been kind of popular lately, especially with the boost of the Backrooms. The box office, domestically, so in the US, 195,963,464 millions dollars. And worldwide, it's 384,382,240. Oh my god, dollars. I think I said that wrong. But with a good start like that, with Kane person that is extremely anti-AI slap, might I say, what did A24 did? Well, make a deal with AI, of course, which did a lot of controversy. People hated that, and I looked a bit more into what their deal was and what they wanted to make from this. So I found an article from Variety that kind of explained what they were saying. A24 and I'm shaking my camera. Okay. Okay. That's how I was when I found out that they struck a deal with AI. But A24 and Google have struck. A24 and Google have struck an AI research partnership that will see the independent studio work with Google's DeepMind. Google's DeepMind unite to develop new AI-powered technology for filmmakers. What is Google's DeepMind? Or vision? We live in an exciting time when AI research and technology are delivering extraordinary advances. Oh, sorry, what? Extraordinary advances. Oh, you mean the countless of deepfakes that went out? The countless of people taking public images of people that ask nothing to modify it? All the people that actually made a lot of videos about propaganda and racist video and sexist video and LGBTQ phobe videos and everything videos that is actually really awful. That's extraordinary advances. In the coming years, AI and ultimately artificial general intelligence (AGI) has the potential to drive one of the greatest transformations in history. Yeah, the power to lie so easily and people not being able to actually understand if it's true or if it's not. We're a team of scientists, engineers, ethicists, oh yeah, a lot of ethics here, and more, working to build the next generation of AI systems safely and responsibly. By solving some of the hardest scientific and engineering challenges of our time, we're working to create breakthrough technologies that could advance science, transform work, serve diverse communities. Oh yeah, serve diverse communities. Do you know? Oh yeah, all those communities of, that are discriminated against, even more discriminated now because people that hate them can lie easily and there's no regulation around that. helping communities, I see, and improve billions of people's life. Yeah, by lying, by creating lives. Of course, AI has the potential to be one of the most important and beneficial technologies ever invented. Beneficial technologies. By using all the water so we can't really drink anymore, but at least we can create fake images. And oh yeah, of course, I can make my storyboards, by AI. Now I don't have to use my heads. So, but I just want to say, first of all, that the idea that this is very successful is not true. There's a lot of things that have been going on around AI. It's the fact that it is a too powerful tool or something that is too demanding for what we are capable of doing right now on Earth. Which means that communities and cities are actually getting a lot of problems from AI centers, data centers centered around AI. There's a lot of problems, like I said, about marginalized communities being even more hated on, about the president of the United States that uses AIs to his own need. The problem of cognitive brain function not being used anymore constantly because AI is doing it for you. And do you not want to learn anything? I have to precise that normally their deal does not include Google having access to A24 of content or any data from their library or anything like that. It's a partnership of $75 million investment in the line of tool and workflows. It is the most important, the biggest investment and marriage, not marriage, but link between Hollywood studio and AI. This is not good. This is not good. And especially what the Variety is saying is literally that during a time where Disney stopped his own deal with OpenAI because there were copyright problems with making AI generated things, Scott Belsky, A24 partner, said that the differences between the AI they are using and the AI that people dislike is that they dislike the generative AI, they dislike this part of the AI slop, but it's for filmmakers, it's the way to make storyboards, so it's not the same and people are going to be okay with it. Spoiler, absolutely not. To read exactly what I just said, A24 partner Scott Belsky, who leads the studio technology division A24 Labs, told the journal the studio-Google partnership differed from other deals because AI developers mistakenly advertised their products as a means to make films cheaper and faster. His division is developing application for AI-generated storyboards. Storyboards. You mean one thing that's extremely important in a movie? Storyboard. You want to generate storyboards. Storyboard is an extremely important part, including script writing and everything that goes along making a movie, a series, a video, or I don't know, I don't care. It's extremely important because that's where you set things up, And when you're going to ask AI to do it for you, it will use what it thinks is perfection from what you just asked. It will make extremely boring things. I don't think you guys realize how boring that is, because AI does not invent anything new. It uses what already exists. He said too, we think there are better uses that preserve creative control and support risk-taking. Won't look anything like the prompted generation type of AI that people feel uncomfortable with. It is still generative AI. It is still going to generate from things that are already existent, and it's still going to be something taking the creative process from you. No matter how you put it, it is still going to take the creative process from you. And a lot of people that are going to use this are people who are going to be greedy with money and are just going to make their things faster and easier, because as much as you wanted to criticize the others, being like, yeah, they portray this as cheaper, faster and all that, so that's why people dislike it, it is still going to be faster and cheaper because it's generated by AI. We believe breakthrough happens when you get technology into the hands of the best minds in the field. Ellie Collins, a vice president of Project of DeepMind, told the journal. Oh no, let me rectify it here. We give the tools to people that are well known, people that are known worldwide, so that they can create more and more and more movie easily and generate a bit more money. That's what they're talking about. You need to give money to the new producers, to people who have a new mind, a new way to create. That's the only way you'll have creativity, only way you'll have movement, things that are changing. Okay, that's the only way. By giving possibilities to the new minds. Give it to the new minds. I don't think you guys realize that what it just said is literally saying we're giving opportunities to the one that already exist, not the emerging people that really want to do filmmaking. That's insane. That's insane. The agreement comes as roughly half of adults under 30 believe AI will harm society, according to a Pew Research study published last week. But there's a problem with that. There's an entire big problem with that. Is that it's not they believe it will harm society. It is harming society. The damage is already being done. When the president is using AI to mock others, when people are constantly making AI videos harming the ecology, when people are constantly using AI to do tasks that they don't want to do anymore, refusing to think for themselves or having any kind of critical minds, when YouTube videos are written by AI, when videos illustrated on YouTube are used by AI, no one is really using their brains anymore. We're all just there taping a prompt and not using our brain. We're just reciting what something in a machine did for us. I don't think I have to explain to you what kind of damage that could be done. And before you tell me photography, calculator, and all of that, a calculator is used by someone who has to do an equation and still needs to know that equation and how to do it to be able to have an answer. Okay, you don't use a calculator. You use a calculator because the human mind at some point cannot exactly easily and quickly register an answer out of an equation. That does not mean they are unable to do the equation. The same way that photography is an entire skills in itself. It does not create out of nothing. A photography, an image is coming from reality, but there's a rule in photography. I made a video about that really quickly last time. There's rules in photography, there's rules in art, there's rules in everything. It's not because you take a picture with your camera that it is a photography. That does not work like that. It's not because you take a picture. I mean, it's a picture, but it's not going to be art. There's an intention behind art. There's a human behind art. There's a brain behind art. There's intention, emotion, there is memory sometimes. There's messages, there's politics. Do I have to tell you why not using our brain is wrong when you're human? For example, the fact that kids nowadays are not as integrated in society, integrated in art, integrated in discussion, and are often reduced to their own tablet, iPad, and all that is already a massive problem. And we see the effect, and we saw it really quickly. The effect on TikTok, we saw all of those things really quickly. So what makes you think that AI taking storyboards and generating it is not going to be a problem too? And I'm wondering, is this really the end of 24? But not only A24. It's the end of any corporation that is now going to include AI, that is now going to be annoying about things they don't own. It's really the end of something. And I don't know if you guys have realized, but people are more and more angry about AI, especially because there was a time where people used to say AI art a lot. But the only thing I hear nowadays is AI slop. It completely changed, and I really recommend this video, kind of comparing cannibalism and AI slop, because it's really interesting how it works. But people have been less and less happy about AI. People have been less and less okay with the usage of it itself, and more complain about it, simply because it's extremely redundant. AI looks the same everywhere, and if your storyboards are not going to be written by AI, there's a high chance that we are going to be familiar with a lot of movies now, that everything is going to be looking a bit the same. I was going to talk about the copyright thing, but when I made the video, well, it ended up being done. A24 responded, But also, I wanted to talk about how cash grab is something people are doing more and more when it comes to fan base of people like Kane Pixel. For example, adding 16 minutes to the movie and releasing it again with 16 more minutes for people to pay more is insane. It's insane. At least it was in my country. I don't know if there was a second release in America, but there was in my country, and that is unacceptable, especially because it does not change anything about the main story. It's just an additional content. And when you do that, and you're making people pay more because you know they're fans, it's something that pisses me off. Just use your brain and everything will be fine. So I hope you have a good day, night, whatever. Goodbye!